Thanks for watching the video podcast. Of course, if you go on our website, theyoungturks.com, you can get the whole 3-hour show.
Plus an uncensored post-game show.
That's if you become a member on theyoungturks.com. Back on TYT. By the way, later in the program, it's a 3-hour program. It's a large program, plus a post-game. More douches. I want to talk about how Donald Trump is a douche and John Mayer's a douche. Okay, but let's start with someone else that might or might not, in your opinion, be in that category. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm being soft about it. Evan Bayh. Evan Bayh retired. It's been nonstop the talk of D.C., this vaunted hero, this white knight of moderation and bipartisanship has stepped down, and we're all weeping, except I think that is exactly wrong, and I've been telling you over the last couple of days that that's nonsense, that no one caved into corporate lobbyists better than Evan Bayh did, and they're letting him get away with murder here. Now, if you want a perfect example of that, you go to Morning Joe on MSNBC. Almost every panelist there is smitten with Evan Bayh, and they're just going to, it's a myth-making factory. Absolute nonsense. So let's watch. Let's go to clip number 5 first and start with Scarborough with Bayh.
Why did you decide this week, the week of the filing deadline, to announce your retirement?
Joe, because I had to. I've had a growing feeling for some time that Congress is just not working as well as it should, delivering the kind of results the American people have a right to expect. I've been focused on my day job. There's a big part of me that loves public life and public service, and so, I made the decision when I finally had to.
Let me read a CNN quote. One of your friends was quoted on CNN and said that you hated the Senate, hated left-wing bloggers, and they've gotten their wish, and the pure Democrats will now be in the minority. You've talked about this a good bit. Do you think the political extremes have taken over politics in Washington, D.C.?
Well, first, Joe, I rarely use the word hate, and I've never applied that to the United States Senate or to left-wing bloggers. I don't feel that the Senate or Congress in general is working as well as it should. I think it's in desperate need of reform. I think you've got a lot of good people trapped in a dysfunctional system right now. And with regard to the left-wing bloggers, I believe in the First Amendment. They got a right to criticize me. Sometimes it gets a little personal, and, you're only human. You don't like that. But, you got to accept that in our society. So I do.
Isn't it frustrating to you, though, Senator, that you and other moderate Democrats are trashed consistently by the left-wing blogosphere? And they're extremists on the right and the left, so you're getting it from extremists on the left and the right and the blogosphere, primetime cable TV shows, you name it, talk radio. It seems to me that if you try to be bipartisan, if you try to walk a center line, you get savaged by all sides.
Well, that's true. Sometimes you do get the worst of both worlds. But look, Joe, I think my advice to my fellow Democrats is the only way we can govern in this country and actually implement some of the ideas that we share is to make common cause with the independents and the moderates. There just are not enough on the far left wing of the Democratic Party to constitute a majority.
I've now watched that clip a couple of times, and the more I watch it, the angrier I get, because everything they said there was a lie. And they're in the business of lying to you, to deceive you, so that corporations can make more money. It's not in the slightest an exaggeration. They hate the left-wing blogosphere. You could tell, he's screaming out. They say it. Bayh's confidant said it to CNN, and Bayh says, oh, I would never use the word hate. But, the left-wing bloggers, they don't understand how it works, and they're the ones that are hurting the country by making it so partisan, etc. And Joe sits in there and he's like, you're savage by both sides. You're such an American hero in the middle. But they keep trashing you, these terrible left-wing bloggers. What he's saying in reality is, you should never question your senators, okay? Because if you do, you're being impolite, you're being partisan. Don't let anyone know that he's actually doing it for the campaign cash. But it's not even just the campaign cash. What's worse is all the money going to his wife. And that might be one of the reasons that he's actually leaving the Senate race. His wife sits on many, many boards, including a health insurance company board, and her stock went up anywhere from $125,000 to $250,000 when Evan Bayh decided, along with other moderate Democrats to kill the public option. He got rich off of it. Now, is that relevant? Do American people want to know that? Do the Republicans that are in the country want to know that? Sure. Democrats? Sure. Everybody wants to know the truth. And it doesn't mean that Evan Bayh is only guided by the money his family is making or the campaign cash he's got from these sources. By the way, he's retiring with $13 million in the bank for his campaigns. How did he get all that money? He got it from those corporations that he's been selling out to this whole time. But what bothers me isn't what Evan Bayh does on a regular basis. It's Joe Scarborough living up his ass. It's Joe Scarborough covering him and saying, "Oh, how dare you ask a question, you trashy left-wing bloggers, of my precious senator who spent his whole career selling out to corporate America. But no, he's a moderate, he's a centrist." And anyone who questions him is rude and despicable. Don't believe what you see on TV. Apparently, they believe their job is to lie to you, to deceive you, to protect these politicians who've been funneling our money to these special interests for all this time. There's a new poll out of the Supreme Court decision, the one that said corporations could put even more money into the system and do more campaign ads. You know how many people were against it? 80% of the American people are against it, including overwhelming majority of Republicans. Why? Because Republicans don't want to get robbed either. And they know that if the corporations and the lobbyists and the special interests give money to these politicians, they buy them. We all know it. The only people who won't tell you that are the people on television, because they're part of this broken system. So when they tell you that system is dysfunctional, ironically, the people who made it dysfunctional are Joe Scarborough and Evan Bayh, because they work in cahoots to direct that money to all those lobbyists and special interests and away from us. And they get so outraged if we ever tell people the truth. And the reality is, you know who's a bipartisan ass kicker? Us. If the Republicans steal your money, we tell you. If the Democrats steal your money, we tell you. We don't give a damn. Should they be trashed for taking our money? Hell yeah, they should be trashed. They should be trashed 1,000,000 times worse. And finally, I got more on this. I got more Bayh clips. But finally on this note, Jesus is mad at me every time we do a Scarborough clip, and he's a douche as usual, okay? Because every once in a while I give Scarborough credit because sometimes he says reasonable things, right? And I'm an open-minded guy, and I go, look, that makes sense and that doesn't make sense. And he's just like, stop ever giving that guy any credit. All he's going to do is misuse it. And we had a conversation the other day off air, and we figured out why Jesus gets so mad when I do that. It's that Scarborough uses his very, very few reasonable points as cover to make his douche points. Okay, to say, look, I'm a moderate guy, I'm a reasonable guy. Look, I said something that was halfway true in one case. Now let me go ahead and cover for my corporatist friends. And I see his complaint on that, and it's a fair point. Nonetheless, I got to do my job, and we'll make all of those points. But if he makes good points, Jesus, I'm going to disappoint you. I'm going to say it again. All right, but today's not that day, so we continue. Scarborough has Bayh on his show, and they're going to keep on. I don't want to get too coarse. They're going to keep on giving him a lot of love. Let's put it that way. Clip number 6.
That's great advice, but you're leaving. Some progress is better than none. Are you letting the two extremes that we're talking about win by leaving, and also the timing of this decision putting the seat at risk?
Two things about that, Mika. First, I'm happy to report that as far as I know, I'm in sound health. I may be leaving Congress, but I'm not quitting life. And thankfully, there are a lot of ways to contribute to our society other than serving an elective political office.
Lobbies.
Creating jobs by growing a business, being in a college or university, helping to educate our young people, perhaps helping a worthy charity or philanthropy. Real things that will help real people in their daily lives. Perhaps on a smaller stage, to be sure, but tangible and real nonetheless. And that's more than, unfortunately, Congress has been doing here these last some time. So with regard to my state, Mika, I'm happy to tell you, I think you're going to see some very good Democratic candidates stepping forward who will have a real opportunity to win this seat in November. I'm looking forward to helping them out. The other party's going to have a 5-way primary. So I actually think the chances of carrying Indiana with the right kind of candidate are pretty good.
Who can bear this guy, man? So his 3 options are go work at a university and teach the young people of America, do a charitable organization, or maybe get into business. Now, which one of those do you think he's going to actually take? Can I vote? Can I vote? And we'll see. Look, you know what? He might get a great job as, you know, the dean of like a great university, and maybe he takes that. It's not out of the question, right? But much more likely is he's going to take a gigantic, not lobbyist job, a job on a K Street as an advisor. Okay. All right. So let's see what happens. And one more thing on the timing there, because he mentioned it there, and they mentioned it in the first clip. You know, Joe Scarborough first asked him, "Hey, why did you drop out here at the last minute?" And he says, "Oh, I had to." And then he explained how the senator's broken, et cetera. No, but that doesn't address the timing question. He dropped out right before the filing deadline. Now, it turns out the funny thing is Republicans are mad at him too, because they're saying, hey, look, we have a 5-way primary on our side, and our guys are Republicans, so they're vicious. They're going to rip each other apart. Meanwhile, the Democrats are not going to have a primary at all. The Democratic Party in Indiana is just going to pick Evan Bayh's successor because it was too late for people to register for the primaries. So that's not fair, and Evan Bayh screwed the Republicans. I don't think so at all. I told you this yesterday. I think the exact opposite is true. I think he screwed the Democrats because the Republicans will have a primary and find their best guy, the one that has the best chance of winning. Now, it doesn't always work that way, and a lot of times the clowns on the right wind up picking the most right-wing guy who has no chance of winning. So don't get me wrong, and sometimes they do rip each other apart. So it's not an easy black or white issue. But at least they have a chance to get rid of Dan Coates. Dan Coates is the guy who's supposed to win, right? But he's up to his neck in lobbyist money. That's all he's been doing for the last many, many years, right? So if they get rid of Dan Coates, they have a much better chance of winning, if you ask me. Now, on the other hand, the Democrats are going to pick some party guy, and he's a guy who's going to be just like Evan Bayh, and people are going to pin, you know, all this corporatist crap on that guy. And I think that Evan Bayh is actually doing a great disservice to the Democratic Party. But one thing is for sure, whether it helps Democrats or Republicans, Evan Bayh had no interest in letting the people of Indiana decide. He wanted the Democratic Party of Indiana to decide. He wanted to do another favor to the power brokers. And so he dropped out with this little time left on purpose. You think that he was like, I'm thinking about it. I just can't make up my mind. Oh, look at that. The deadline's tomorrow. Okay, I'll drop out now. Understand, the deadline was not for him, okay? So that didn't affect his decision at all. It's for other candidates who might run against him or might run in the primary if he's not there. So he's so full of crap when he says, oh, golly gee willikers, that was just the time that I had, that I wound up deciding, and so now I robbed the Democratic primary voters of any chance to get a real progressive. Oh, well, what could I do? All right, I'm not done with him yet. Let's go to clip number 7 where John Heilemann, who is another one of these mainstream media guys who thinks he's so smart but just parrots conventional wisdom, which is nothing but Republican talking points. He's going to ask Evan Bayh another softball question. Let's watch.
Senator Bayh, a lot of people will read a symbolic rebuke in your departure, a symbolic rebuke to President Obama, the notion that he has governed not from the center where you live, and has governed too far from the left. Do you think that kind of interpretation is correct? How much is this about a failure on the part of the president to govern in a way that you find amenable, and that you think the president should be governing to take the country where it needs to go?
John, I'm glad you asked, and let me clear that up.
Sure
the president is making a sincere effort to reach out and try and bring the two parties together. He knows about the dysfunction here, but it takes two parties to make that work. And so what I would say, you know, there are some on the right in the Republican Party who are just playing short-term political games. Look at this vote 2 weeks ago on the Debt and Deficit Commission. Some of these people had endorsed it. They'd co-sponsor the bill and then vote against their own bill because they don't think it's politically expedient. That's a perfect example of what's wrong with Washington. The president had endorsed that idea. So, look, I'd say to the far right, disagree with the man if you must on some policy, but he is reaching out, and you should cooperate and compromise with him where you can. I'd say to some of my friends on the farther left, look, sometimes half a loaf is better than none, and we got to get that progress done that we can, and then come back and argue over and fight over the rest, and not make this an all or nothing kind of thing.
Man, that question was unreal, man. Is Obama not enough in the center where you live? You cherished centrist. And I'm asking that from the perspective of someone in your ass, where I live. And those two idiots that they have, those two tools that they have on Morning Joe, drive me crazy. Those guys who wrote the book, I mean, they're the ultimate supposed Washington insiders. Halperin, who is the worst of the worst, and John Heilemann. They're so... Look, maybe they're savvy. I don't know what they are. Maybe they're Republicans and they think, we'll pretend all the Republican talking points and all the corporatist talking points are the mainstream in America. Or they're tools, and they get used by Republicans and the largest lobbyists in the country to make every point they want on television. And of course, Joe Scarborough loves them. He has them on every day. My guess is he invites them over for tea and then for dinner. I don't think he ever leaves them. I think they all walk together and they're like, la, 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 what other Republican talking point should we give? And it's everywhere, man. Here's another one. Associated Press. Buy the latest exit as moderates leave Congress. The first paragraph. The moderate middle is disappearing from Congress. Evan Bayh is just the latest senator to forego an election bid, joining a growing line of pragmatic, find-a-way politicians who are abandoning Washington. Still here, ever more polarized colleagues locked in gridlock. Exactly what voters say they don't like about the politics in the nation's capital. Absolutely untrue. Okay, what voters really don't like is all of our politicians selling out to special interests. And we say that poll after poll after poll. Republicans, Democrats, Independents, we all say it. We're overwhelmingly in favor of that. And what happens? Evan Bayh is the guy who's... We're going to have a guest on, okay? We're going to have Bob Borsaj on. He's going to explain every vote where Bayh had a chance to vote in favor of corporate lobbyists. He did, every single time. He's exactly what's wrong with Washington, okay? We're not gridlock. Look, the only reason there's any gridlock is because all those corporatists agreed that they want gridlock. That's their desire. Why do you think all those bills get stuck in the Senate? Because the corporatist party doesn't want them to pass. All right, look, I'll tell you what the reality is, okay? Look, I fear that I'm talking too much about Evan Bayh, right? But the reason is because it's not about Evan Bayh. It's about the central problem in Washington. So what's the central problem in Washington? It's that it's not the Democrats, it's not the Republicans. A lot of people think, hey, you know what? There used to be kind of 60 Democrats. Now there are 59 if you count Lieberman, and there's 41 Republicans, right? So roughly speaking, the Democrats have a 59-41 advantage. But that's actually not true at all, because the Democratic Party, let's say about 60 of them, right, are broken up into actually three camps. One camp is, fairly good progressives. Some of them are real strong progressives. Some of them are, will vary on issues, and sometimes if they're going to lose a vote, they'll take the campaign money anyway, et cetera. But they're pretty good progressives, about 20 of them, right? 20 of them are in the middle. Their heart's in the right place. They want to vote progressive. If you put enough pressure on them, they will or they might, okay? But if it looks like there's any trouble at all, then they'll take the campaign cash, right? And then the last third of the Democrats are not progressives at all. They pretend to be progressives. They campaign as progressives. They tell the voters, oh, I'm on your side. I'm for the little guy. But they got no intention. They're actually Republicans. Now, you could say, no, that's not really entirely true, because on some social issues, for example, they'll vote with Democrats. So there's a difference between even those Democrats and the Republicans, and you'd be right. But on the corporate issues, they will always vote with the Republicans. Now, all 40, and then now 41 Republicans, they're all corporatists, okay? In the House, a couple of guys are not that are Republican. Of course, famously Ron Paul. And he's an independent, and he really makes up his own mind. You could disagree with him on the issues, but he's nobody's sellout to corporate America, okay? But in the Senate, every single stinking one of them, of the Republicans, are corporatists. And then you got 20 Democrats who are absolute corporatists, right? So the largest party in the Senate, and the one that's holding up all the reform, is actually the corporatist party. And they have the supermajority. They've got 60 senators. And they're never going to get broken. That's why we need to do campaign finance reform, or at least call them out and show the American people, whether Democrat or Republican, how they sell out to special interests. That's our only hope. Otherwise, the reason we have gridlock, the number one problem with Washington, is because those guys, they don't want financial reform. They don't want health care reform. They don't want any of this reform. They want the health insurance companies, the drug companies, cap and trade. Hell no. The oil companies, the coal companies, the banks. They want all of them to make as much money as possible. They want to be able to loot the store at will. And if they're not making enough money with no regulation, no reform, no nothing, well, then they'll just directly take it out of the taxpayers like they did with the TARP program. The people in charge of Washington is that supermajority of 60 corporatist senators. That's the reality. And that's what they never tell you on TV. That's what they never tell you in the press, because that would be impolite. You would be trashing the senators. You would be being rude. And God forbid you should stop covering for them. So don't turn off your TV, man. They're never going to tell you the truth there. Every once in a while there'll be a story either on television or in print journalism, and I'll get excited. I'll be like, look at this! In the middle of the New York Times on page 824, we got a real story. I'm so jazzed. Once Rick Sanchez on CNN did a story where he's like, could it be that the politicians are taking money from these corporations and lobbyists, and that might affect their vote? And I'm sitting here going, of course it is. Rick, you're onto something. Roll with it, right? So from time to time, you'll get a tiny story that's headed in the right direction, but that'll get snuffed out. Overall, they think their job is to protect those sellout corporatist politicians. So that's what's actually happening in Washington. All right, let's take a quick break here. And I know some of this stuff can be depressing, but trust me, we got a short-term plan and we got a long-term plan on how to fight this. It's going to be a long, hard slog, but we're going to beat the some of them bitches. Okay, not going to happen tomorrow, but I'll tell you how the fight will ensue. Young Turks. Back on TYT. All right. Look, here's some faint signs of hope, I should say. The Democracy for America and Progressive Change Campaign Committee have been pushing House members and senators as well. I believe they got about 119 House members, but that number keeps moving up every day. And that's a lot of House members. That's some good work to sign up to say, hey, public option has to be part of reconciliation. And I love that these guys are still fighting, because I've grown a little hopeless on that. Okay, but now they're signing up more and more senators. They started with 4: Michael Bennet, Kirsten Gillibrand, Jeff Merkley, and Sherrod Brown. And then 4 more were announced today: Al Franken, Pat Leahy, John Kerry, Sheldon Whitehouse. In fact, later I saw Roland Burris and Bernie Sanders have also signed up. So 10 senators now telling Harry Reid, if you're going to do reconciliation for the health care reform, for the love of God, put the public option in it. Okay, now it's great to see that there's still some fighters out there and that they're getting some sort of momentum. But I would be a little bit more specific. Okay, now if I was Obama, and the problem is, and the reason I'm pessimistic about this, because Obama is nothing like me, and he has no interest in the public option, and he's already made his deals. So, but let me not get too discouraged in the middle of this. What would I do? I say, look, you know what? We're going to do this healthcare summit, right? That's coming up on the 25th. And it's all about bipartisanship. And so here's my new proposal. My proposal is that I'm going to accept 6 of your suggestions, the Republicans did, and 4 of them are already in what you put out on your website, the GOP did, for saying this must be in the health care bill. And it is in the health care bill. And there's 2 others that you didn't put on there, but that you've lobbied for in the past, and that's already in the bill, okay? But on top of that, I will give you no public option. That's an interesting twist, right? And tort reform's already in there. If you want, I'll make it even tougher, okay? So I'll give you all this stuff, the stuff that we've already put in the bill, plus you get to kill the public option so there's no socialized government takeover of healthcare, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I'm giving you everything you could want, right? But I need a commitment of only 5 Republican senators to vote for this thing. And I need a commitment before the vote, okay? And I'm not asking for a lot. There's 41 Republican senators. All I want is 5, right? And I'm giving you everything you want. On the other hand, though, if I don't get those 5 senators and I don't get any of your votes, instead what we're going to do is we're going to put the public option in there. Because why am I taking out the public option if you're not giving me any votes? I'd rather make the reform stronger. I've said it 100 times that I'm in favor of the public option, and I believe it'll make a stronger bill. So if it's not going to get me any bipartisanship and it's not going to get me your votes, well, then I'm putting it back in. Now, I would go further, and I would agree with Howard Dean's points about how some of the benefits of this bill have to start in 2010. If you wait till 2013 or 2014, it's going to be a disaster. So I'm also going to start those in 2010. Now, it's your choice, Republican Party. And come on, isn't that a reasonable offer to make? And to take to the American people and saying, look, I'm reaching out with a very, very specific proposal. And I'm letting them make the decision. I'm not making the decision, they are. If they want bipartisanship, they vote this way and they get what they want. If they don't, and they're going to obstruct, well then, of course I'm going to go with what I think is a stronger bill. Who can argue with that logic? Now, that is the direction that I would push the Democratic senators, the Democrats in the House, and the Obama administration. That's a reasonable proposal. Now, I don't mind making that proposal right now because, as I told you earlier, I'm pessimistic that the public option is going to pass anyway. So, you know, if it turns out the Republicans take the deal, well, look, at least we got something passed, and I don't think the Democrats were going to do the public option anyway, right? But if it turns out that the Republicans don't play ball, which is much, much more likely, then all of a sudden the public option is back on the table and maybe it gets passed and maybe the bill is actually real reform. It's a win-win for us. It would be a win-win for Obama. It'd be a win-win on the politics side. It would be a win-win on the policy side, given the current circumstances. Are they going to do it? Don't hold your breath. All right. Now, one other note on health care here, because, you know, the summit's coming up, and Obama administration put out a statement saying that we will have a final version of what we think is the right way to go on health care bill online before the summit, and we challenged the Republicans to also come up with their version, put it online. Now the Democrats in Congress are saying, no dice, we're not going to put up our version because apparently they're not ready yet. They're still negotiating. They want to see how things go. They're like, hey, look, if Obama wants to put up his version, great, that would be helpful. But we're not going to put our necks out on the line first. And if they don't do it, of course, the Republicans won't do it, and that thing starts to unravel. You know, in my mind, that's not altogether that important as to who puts it online first, et cetera. And there might be some political reasons that it's advantageous not to put it online. Because as soon as you do, of course, the Republicans are going to shred it. Yeah, you'll be able to, if the Republicans also put theirs online, which is not a guarantee, you'll be able to shred theirs too, but nobody's paying attention to theirs. So maybe it's a smart political calculation. I'm split on the issue. But it looks like going into the summit, we're going to have no idea where the Democrats stand. Well, that makes the summit more interesting, I guess. Oh, by the way, Young Turks covering the summit live all day. As long as the summit is going on and it starts at 10 a.m. Eastern on the 25th, we'll be on air, and then we'll carry through and do a post-game on it as well, tell you the winners and losers. So on theyoungturks.com, February 25th, we'll break it down for you as it happens. Don't miss it. We'll be right back.
Find me all the way to prime time. That's right, that's where we
Young Turks, I am Jake Huger, Jared Jackson producing, Jesus Godoy directing. What do you do with a problem like Glenn Beck? I don't know what to do with him. He is going to get somebody really hurt. And he's got his First Amendment rights. But he's inciting people, and he's inciting people. Don't take my word for it. Take Glenn Beck's word for it. We're about to play some clips for you guys. In these clips, he's going to compare progressives to Nazis and worse. He's going to complain about democracy, and he's going to scare the living crap out of people as if they're going to be killed. And then later there'll be a caller who believes him, and that'll be interesting as well. But first, let's hear him incite, folks.
Let's go to Canada. Canada has decided that the time is here now for euthanasia. Now, why is the time here now for euthanasia? Well, because we just want to be able to help those who don't have any quality of life. I beg you, America, I beg you, Great and powerful evil is on our doorstep. Great and powerful evil is here. I beg you, read about the progressives. I beg you, please, do your homework on eugenics. It is starting all over again. What we said we would never, ever forget. I'm telling you, I'm doing research right now on the 1930s and 40s. Part of it is taking me overseas. Other parts, most of it is taking me here in America. I'm going to show you things in the coming weeks in history that you just had no idea. No idea. It's shocking. It is horrifying. And it shows you how close we came to falling into the same kind of trap that Europe did, that led to 70 million dead in China, led to, 40 million dead with Stalin, 10 million dead by Hitler. We were this close. The progressive movement, it's the same thing. It is, we know better than you. We're smarter than you. There are just too many stupid people out there. We haven't explained it enough. And then there are those who just won't listen, and we just need to move past those people. It's not about freedom. It's don't let them lie to you. It's not about democracy. It is about control. Democracies have never, ever succeeded. There has never been a lasting democracy. That's why we're a republic. Democracies do not survive. That's why they want a democracy. If you look at what they're doing in Canada, again, the progressive movement, just because we've got to help those people out who have no quality of life. It starts on both ends, just like the eugenics system did here in America, and then was moved over to places like Germany out of compassion. Let's help Sarah Palin's poor baby. What quality of life will that child have? The quality of life that the Lord intended, and the quality of life is enhanced in all of us by being around a child like that. And then they take it off the top end. Just like the eugenics program did, we'll take care of the infirm, the imbecilic, the sick, the tired, those who just can't do it anymore. They have no quality of life.
All right. Well, where do you start with this clip? All right. First of all, he started with Canada considering euthanasia. They are considering euthanasia. Euthanasia is not someone being killed that didn't want it, didn't ask for it, etc. It is actually someone taking their own life. Now, he goes way past that to, of course, they're going to be murdered. Who's going to murder them? The progressives are. Then he jumps from Canada to here. Then he jumps from progressives here to 70 million killed in China, 40 million in Russia. And then he lowballs Hitler for some reason and puts him at 10 million, right? And then he twists things on their head, and fascism, which is the most right-wing political philosophy in world history, he turns that into progressivism. Fascism is actually left-wing, just not even remotely factual. But who cares? He's on a roll, right? And then he moves from the fascism and the, what is that, overall, let me do quick math, 120 million killed because of progressives, back to the U.S. and back to current day with Sarah Palin and her child, and she's obviously does not have good quality of life, so the progressives are going to murder her. Now, where did all this start? Canada is considering a euthanasia program where people would have the choice of how to end their own lives, okay? Because that would be personal liberty, right? Not somebody else makes that decision. They make the decision, right? But Glenn Beck otherwise says he's in favor of personal liberty, but not that because it's going to lead to Sarah Palin's child being murdered. And apparently he's also against democracy. Now, that was a weird little rant there in the middle. You know, you're probably going to have a better theory for it than I will, some of you out there. I don't know where he's leading with that other than just general right-wing rant against democracy. But my best guess is that, hey, we can't have up or down votes in the Senate. We can't have rule of the majority because they're not in the majority anymore. Of course, when they were in the majority, then democracy rocked, and the majority rule was the way to go. But now that they're in the minority, no, that's fascism, progressivism, and 120 million people will be killed. Look, if it was, just him saying this stuff, and it didn't actually get through to anybody, he's an idiot in a street corner, and he's worried about himself, because I understood at the end of that rant why he's so concerned. He thinks they're going to go after the imbeciles. So his own ass is on the line. But that would be no problem, except he's getting people worked up. And did you see what he said in the beginning? That's the part that freaked me out the most. A great and powerful evil is coming. Now, there's a lot of religious folks in this country, and even if you're not religious, you're thinking, oh my God, a great and powerful evil is coming, and millions of people were killed before by these progressives. Now, you see, they can't use liberals anymore. That's not working anymore. So now they're trying to make progressives an evil, powerful word, a terrible word, an ugly word, a dirty word. Progressive is a bad thing. It kills 120 million people, right? And they're coming. A great and powerful evil is coming. Now, what would you do if a great and powerful evil was coming? If you could stop it, would you? Would you have stopped Hitler, Stalin, Mao? Well, a great and powerful evil is coming here. Glenn Beck told us. Now, what are you going to do about it? It's scary stuff, man. Scary. Because, Beck is enough of a dingbat. And he's purposely misleading these people. But imagine the dingbats that are listening and what some of them are going to do in a panic because they think they're going to be killed. Okay, now you think I'm exaggerating? Well, here's a caller on that same program. And she's scared to death. Literally. She's worried that they're going to come to kill her. Listen in.
Let me go to Bev in Ohio. Hello, Bev.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Very good.
I just have a question. I was listening to you when you first came on, and you're talking about the eugenics in Canada and how they're going to put people out of their misery.
Well, they're talking about it. The doctors up there now are saying it's time to really look at euthanasia. And the reason why they're doing that is because health care is collapsing on costs.
Okay, because I've worked in a factory for almost 30 years now, and I have a bad back, and I'm having to go on disability, and it's not my choice. But I was wondering, I'm 47, am I going to be one of those people that, that he's going to put out of his misery because I can't,
Well, luckily they're not talking about this here. They're talking about it in Canada. So you're...
Oh, I know, but isn't Obama kind of heading that direction?
Well, he would claim no, but if you look at Rahm Emanuel's brother...
Exactly.
And you look at his what is it called? His Complete Lives program. Yes, you would be one of those that would,
Okay, so
you'd get
I'm a
less.
mother and a wife and a friend that has enough, they need to maybe take that into consideration. Maybe I can't earn a paycheck. Maybe I have to get disability, but I mean something to people, do they?
Bev?
It's just really scary. I sit here and I listen to you, and I'm learning a lot, but, there's a lot of aspects of what they're doing that are really...
Evil?
Yes, evil.
Yes. Bev, God bless you. You don't need to be frightened because we're not those people. And we are certainly not those people anytime soon. And there will be lots of people that are going to put up a fight against anything like this. So, you don't panic. You just need to stay aware and wake your families up and have have people do their own homework and their own research.
That poor woman is scared to death, man. She thinks they're going to come to kill her. And look at what Beck does there, because he's so careful, because he doesn't want to make an actual misstatement. Like, he doesn't say Canada is doing euthanasia. He says, no, Canada is considering euthanasia, but you're right, we should be concerned. No, we're not doing it here in America yet, but you're right, we should be concerned. Obama says he wouldn't do that, but yes, you're right, he might, because look at Rahm Emanuel's brother, la, 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 and I said X and Y and Z, and somehow I connected them, right? And he said, but don't worry, Bev. There are a lot of brave people in America who are willing to put up a fight, who are going to stop them before they get to that point where they're going to kill you. Dangerous, man. Super dangerous. And then the great irony of all this is, in reality, of course, real progressives want to help Bev. They're the first people that want to help her. They want to help her get health insurance. They want to make sure she's protected if she got hurt on the job. And the conservatives like Glenn Beck are the ones that remove all of those protections. They want to get rid of her Social Security. They want to get rid of her Medicare. It's in new proposals right now being proposed by the Republicans. Bush tried to privatize Social Security so she wouldn't have anything to fall back on. They're the ones against workman compensation claims. They're the ones that are against her getting Medicare in the first place. So they take all of Bev's fears and concerns and they flip it on its head and use it against her. And by demonizing the very people who are trying to help her. There is a great evil in the country. That's for damn sure. You got that right, that part right, Glenn. But it ain't the progressives. What do you do with a problem like Glenn Beck? I don't know. And, there's no answer, because it's a free country and he has his freedom of speech rights, and as long as he doesn't directly incite violence saying, go hurt this specific guy, he's allowed to say all that stuff. And so, that's why I get scared, because there isn't anything that could be done as far as I can tell. And so, and we're not like them, right? What his answer would be, well, there's something you should do about Glenn Beck, the great evil, right? I'm not saying you should, but think about it, right? No, we're not like them. So of course, we're not going to go down that road. We've already beat them politically. You can't take away their First Amendment rights, nor do I think you should. So there's no answer. All he's going to do is foment, and get people scared out of their minds until they do something stupid. And then he's going to lean back and go, well, you look at that. Oh, I didn't see that coming. It's a damn shame that happened. All right. I will take your suggestions, by the way. Let's do another weekly caller segment. We had fun last week doing it. Let's do it again today. So I will take your calls when we return. 323-866-8201, 323-866-8201, and I'll give you a funny story on Donald Trump, too. Young Turks. Thanks for watching the video podcast, and of course, if you become a member on theyoungturks.com, you can get the whole 3-hour show.
Plus an uncensored post-game show.
Those are fun. Young Turks.